This is the time that a lot of artists have found it most challenging. Some have found it very creative too. Let's be let's be honest about that. Some artists have made the most groundbreaking breakthrough, I would say. Some have also struggled. We're going to be talking to one of our Ghanaian brothers, doing marvelously in the industry. He's got some knowledge to share. Let's see what's good.
Yo, what's happening, guys? You good?
Oh man, yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, maybe you might have to position your camera well, so we see. Yes,
Yeah.
we
Is that
see the
good?
Funkz. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you
Blessings,
though?
man.
How are you keeping up?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Just keeping busy. Like yeah, just staying busy. Making sure that that's what I can say. Staying busy, meditating, looking for new opportunities. And yeah, man. What about yourself?
Oh man, yeah, same man. Just trying to get as physically and spiritually fit as possible. That's the way to go. Build a
Hmm.
stamina. As DJ, when you're a DJ, you don't want to be out of breath. You just gotta be able to to be clear as well. Clarity. That's what. Yeah, I've been working on, and as usual, using the downtime to think of useful things to do.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's I find it a good time, to be honest. Apart from the fact
Hmm.
that we can't go out, loss of revenue. That's typical. But
Hmm.
aside that, it's also an avenue for you to just sit back and reflect a bit.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Shouts to DJ Pox. What's good, brother? Yeah, see
Yes,
you
my
out there,
bro.
man.
Come on.
Yeah, I like the new.
Yeah,
I
man.
like the young wave of DJs. Not
Hmm.
sounding old, but with
Yeah, bro. I know
with
what you mean though, but like the new wave, like the new champions of the sound. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because I think everybody has a part to play kind of thing, and I
mm,
think like every kind of generation, every few years, there's like a new wave of DJs, sound that kind of come through, and yeah, like it's just about embracing them and all of us kind of just all being on the same page.
yeah. But you know how I get down. I'm always
So Jesus.
stay, staying as evolved as possible. Embracing the generation of DJs that come through. That's one thing I've
Hmm.
I've always done from my start of my career. Whether it's my
Hmm.
colleagues or as new people. We chopped it out on my show in YFM. That was the last time
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
actually
You
saw you.
showed like a lot of love, man, and like even just that as well, like just giving the platform for us to be able to, do stuff. Yeah, man, like I appreciate it, and at the same time, I think if everybody moves out, and I think it's getting to that place now where everybody's working with each other. Um, people are seeing the value in unity as well, which I think also plays a part too. And yeah, it's vibes, man.
That's the part that I'm so proud of. Your squad and everyone else. The need to actually get together and move the culture forward, because it's not a one man game, not at all. Everybody plays their part, like you rightly said. So yeah, if you just join us, that's Funkz. You can't have a person by the name of Funk and not deal with music. It's gonna be done. So Funkz is my guest. On the other side, we're gonna have a holistic conversation about how the industry is. Reflect to what is happening in Ghana. You work with a lot of Ghanaian artists, because as I mentioned, when you came on the show, you came with like about how many people? About 10 or so artists, from all over Europe
Hmm.
and also from Ghana, which was very, very impressive, man. But at least a little
Yeah.
bit of background information about you. What does Funk do, and then we can get that perspective and chop it up from there.
So I guess I'm a DJ and a connector as well, and I guess an entrepreneur. So Like, yeah, I have my own, businesses and platforms that we run. Um, and I also manage artists as well. And yeah, just like generally all round kind of like, push the culture and push the sound. So, I guess practical terms, head of marketing of a record label in the UK called Muse Recordings. Um, I set up a imprint and a digital distribution company in Ghana called Crux Global, for all of the artists inside here, and I also manage artists and have my own label as well, P Montana, which is Raw Boy Music, which is more like a management slash label. And then we have um, the artists that I manage from King Promise, P Montana, Brenya, etc. So I do quite a bit.
That's a solid roster there, to be honest. So how have you found the whole COVID? The impact on the industry. What's been your personal experience?
Um, Obviously, all the shows, there's not really any shows, but like to be honest, we've been working. We've been working. We've been working. We still been releasing music. We still been like finding cool ways to make stuff. I think creativity kind of sits aside on this as well. Like you can tell, who you can stand out at this point. It's I feel like the creative. It's easy for creatives to um stay on top. I
Mm.
think right now is a time for creativity. And for the roster that we have, everyone's active. Everyone's been releasing music. Brenya released plenty. I guess Promise did Sissa just before the lockdown. P Montana just released. Um, on Move side, we've had like quite a few people. Officer released recently, and he was trending in the UK. Um, we released Mike Smith, RJZ. Yo, there's been so many releases this time, like Trip C, um, like yeah, Kelvin Boy. Everyone's been releasing at this time, and we've been getting good results, good support. The streams have been growing, so generally, like business hasn't stopped for us.
Yeah, that's good. Because you've you put your ventures in different areas. You haven't just stuck to one thing. Which would have been impacted upon. If it was just DJing or just performance that you're relying on, it would have been quite a
Hmm.
hectic period. So I mean, it's a good lesson
Yeah, yeah.
it's a good lesson to pick from this though. But
You know what?
creatively, you mentioned that you are your best. But finish your point. Finish your point.
No, you know what? You have a point there because with streaming about 2, 3 years ago, probably like 3 years ago now. Um, I said no. I said I'm gonna look into the streaming side of things, and I'm gonna really focus and see how we can create stuff. How we can just get into records because I started off doing raves, and it got to a point where it started slowing down because it's either you're going to DJ and the growth of the fee isn't like there isn't a huge room for growth. So, if you're starting at one fee, for you to get to another fee isn't like there's not it's not an easy step by step for you to just go up. Whereas with music, um, like if you do music, you're in a position where you can grow quicker. So you can
Yeah,
actually, like if you create music, you're able to reach more people than if you was to DJ. Because when you DJ, you're in a club or you put a mix online, but you're just subject to that. But when you've got music, you're influencing a whole sound and kind of stretching it out wide. So from there, I kind of decided to focus more on music than the parties and putting on raves and
mm,
all that stuff because it takes a lot of energy to do that. But like after many years of doing raves, it's like after one party, what do you like? What do you do next? Well,
true.
another party, and I just thought, if I got into actual, music and audios, I'll be able to just reach more people. And, God being good, years later, we were able to actually, like music's our main source of income now. Like we release music every week. We have our hands in many different pies. I have many different partners that I've been working with that, I would have never been able to do if I didn't venture into this side of
Yeah.
business, this side of the music
Fantastic.
business.
We're gonna delve a bit more into the streaming, because over the years, the
Hmm.
over the last 3 or 4 years, the streaming numbers have been going up. Because in the past you would see physical copies used to be what was dominating sale. If you
Yeah.
look at the statistics, and over the years, the late 90s and on, I think early 2000, that was when there was a massive slump in the music industry, and then it picked up again. So
Uh-huh.
we'll get into the stream bit, but you mentioned a very vital point that God being good, you've been fortunate to be having some of these artists. Let's look at some of the times that, because it's not always straightforward. Whether you're an
Hmm.
artist manager, it takes
Hmm.
time for you to see any sort of returns or
Yeah.
any sort of value in your level of investment. So how if you can just talk about how you dealt with, like, some of the challenging times in the early part, because you've got to come through a pattern before you're able to see any steady stream of revenue.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point there. To be honest, for many years I didn't make anything, and it was just the love of music and the love of doing it that kept me going. Um, and when I started seeing more return was when I guess I've been around for long enough to to kind of like ride the wave in a way, of the sound of Afrobeats. Like I very early, I was able to center my focus. So I started off with Funky House, and Funky House led to Afrobeats, and I've very much been focused on Afrobeats ever since. So from those early days of doing raves, Wizkid, booking Davido, doing Ibiza, booking Burna Boy, not turning up, all of these early issues, all of these early issues that you run into, or early growth. Like I used to do songs for the Ibiza anthem, and some of the artists that we had on there have gone on to do mad things, and it's been just riding that wave and trying to always be on top of new things, like trying new things. I guess that's brought me to this point here. I think it's just having a purpose. To answer your question, it's having a purpose, which I know what my purpose is: promoting African music in the West, um,
Mm.
or African culture in the West, whether that's you doing rap or whatever. That's always been my main focus. And then the element outside of that is just kind of allowing that focus to drive you. So even though I failed so many times, like I failed so many times, I've lost so much money. But at the end of the day, like I have to go on. The show must go on. Um, it's either that, or for me, it was like I never want to fail completely.
Mm.
So if I keep going, it means you haven't failed, right? So
Yeah.
if if you have a bad day and you keep going tomorrow, you haven't failed yet.
Yeah.
So that's my drive as well, I guess.
But that's fantastic, though, because you've seen the growth with a lot of the artists. Any of them that you still work with, like from your early beginnings.
Uh, P Montana.
Okay, but I mean that's more like family, though. So
Yeah, yeah. Um,
that's more.
uh, from then till now, I guess I worked with Afrobeat, like, and I guess earlier on we worked with him in some capacity, like we were coming from the same place. Um, yeah, like to be honest, like P Montana really, you know. that's probably the main person that I worked with at the very beginning that I'm still with now. And even though
Because
it's family, it's my partner too.
of course, yeah. Because it's easier when you both share the same purpose, you know. Because I've
Yeah,
spoken to him, you know, on a few occasions on different platforms, and
yeah,
you both kind of have the same ideology. Like you know where you're heading, you know, with the music, you know where you're heading with the sound, which makes it easier for things to move on. So in terms of
yeah,
uh, working with Ghanaian artists, because notably, you know, if anybody pays attention to your page or
yeah.
videos or whatever goes on, you, as you mentioned, Working Promise, you've
Hmm.
mentioned other Mike Smith, other Ghanaian artists. You know, what's it like working with Ghanaian artists based there most of the time, and then you are juggling between UK and Ghana?
Well, I have a partner in Ghana as well. So Ike, Gormsky, he's based there, and Ohine
Okay,
as well. Like they're based out there. So like and we're partnered with Global Media Alliance as well. So obviously we get to use their team to run the business as well. Um, but yeah, like I have teams there. The best thing that my team plays a big part in it. Like in all the companies we have, it's the team that helps drive it. So yeah, to answer that question, and I travel there quite often. And there's WhatsApp, there's Instagram, like like you don't have to be with the person to work. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
true.
And I think experience in terms of like every artist is different as well. So, every artist is driven by something, but they're all driven differently. So they act differently. Everyone's their own person in it. They're not just because they're all from Ghana doesn't mean they're all the same.
No, no.
You know?
And
Yeah.
you have like the new wave of artists, you know, with a different perspective. Because I've seen the trend from the high life to hip life to Afrobeats. You know, the new wave of artists have a different perspective. They've got that global approach. You know, they've got a global sound. You know, what do you normally when you link up with an artist, or what's the best way to put it? What do you really look out for? You know, before you start putting them on your roster.
Um. So I guess there's two things here. So with Crux Global, we've actually made it open to Ghanaian artists and artists in Africa to register, submit their music online. So I'm even gonna put the website below. So in terms of like getting on board onto that platform, there's not no barriers to entry. But in terms of me working with someone directly, I look for drive, like what drives that person. On top of that, it's like what the music sounds like and where I think it can go, like how far I think it can go. And
Mm.
also how wide the mind is. Like one thing I used to run into in the UK was a lot of the artists were short-sighted. They're like, I have to, chart in the UK or I have to do this, have to do that. But, you know, a lot of the charts are driven by like major label marketing, where the artists don't own a lot of their masters. They're just given a big advance at the beginning. And, there's not a lot more that they were going to see at the end. But nonetheless, there's a big push for them within the UK. But after that, it's like, the audience is very fickle. So within like a year, 2 years, or a year, if you decide to take a break or whatever, your audience will just vanish. It's happened to so many artists.
Yeah.
Your audience just vanishes and you have to almost start again. Whereas someone like Wizkid, R2B's, I don't know, Burna Boy, Davido, Sarkodie, like all these African artists based in Africa, no matter where they're
Mm.
based, um, they can go quiet for a bit and still release something and still have, that buzz or still have that audience. And the reason why is because they've been able to make an impact in culture itself rather than subculture, if
Mm.
that makes sense.
It
So,
does. It does. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm with you on that point. You know, because there was one record executive who made that statement about, I've forgotten the name, but his point was that if the industry is going to shift to a stage where it's not going to be driven by just singles, you know, in the past you would have artists, you know, blow up with like maybe Coolio or Camus on Gangsta's Paradise, or and have such a massive hit and remain relevant for a long time, you know. But these days, with the pace of music, you're not going to be able to survive that with just one track. You've got to come with a project, you know, and continuously. That's why I side with you on that point about R2B's, you know, Davido and Wizkid, and they deliver projects that
Yeah, I think it's more than that
gives
though.
them
I think
that shelf line, you know.
I think it's more than that though. I think it's your contribution to culture itself, because I think it's more than an album. But with those artists, there's not like notable albums that you will go back to and say, oh, apart from maybe like, let's say, Burna Boy's most recent album. But a lot of the artists, they're singles that make you know that artist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think every artist is different, but I think it's how that record in particular impacts on culture. Whether it's I don't know, whether it's the first African song to chart in America, or it's the first song or first project to engage this type of artist, or it's the first one to achieve this many numbers. Like, it needs to kind of impact in culture, or it's the first song to engage with this world. Like, I don't know, the Medical's Omada was quite a popular song outside of Ghana as well. And maybe it's like even EL, the Ozonto, all of this stuff. Like, it's all cultural moments. Do you know what I mean?
But it doesn't stop there, though. They
Yeah,
didn't stop there. They
exactly,
built on that. Yeah.
exactly. And I think um, in order for you to be able to build on that, you need to have made those achieved those goals. You know what I mean? And achieved those things. So yeah.
So with I'm sure you're following what is happening now with like the Ghana industry. There is a lot of artists now pushing the system to make sure that it's well structured in terms of royalty collection and things like that. That's going to support growth of artists, you know, particularly those who are on the verge of retirement, or even when they go into retirement, you know, how are they going to survive, you know? Because what's your take on what's going on, and particularly with the Ghana industry? How have you navigated what our current system is like for your artists?
To be honest with you, I don't really like, Ghana's not my market. Like, even with the artists that we work with, the market is global. Like, I don't really look at press me how I'm gonna break an artist in Ghana itself. I look at
Not
how can
breaking them,
yeah,
not breaking
but
them,
the
but navigating
royal
the system, you know.
I don't really. It sounds crazy, but I don't. Even with Gamro and stuff, I don't really take them seriously, and I don't really take much time in trying to influence it, because obviously it's a government powered thing, and it's a senior members of music boards that may not ever understand or ever be I would ever need to waste my time in talking to them. It may sound very blunt, but that's where it is. So with the artists that I have, I try and market them internationally and make sure that they're having streams internationally. They're being played on radio internationally, so that they can collect PRS and they can collect income from streams on Spotify, Apple, these are Boomplay, etc., and then subsequently go on tour, which will then allow us to bring in an income as well. And I use those as my key driving force. I don't really take the Ghana platforms itself as serious, because I feel like I'm yet to see an artist benefit from that system. And I think, instead of begging people for to split the small money that's there, why not bring more money into the economy and split that? Do you know what I mean? So that's my take on it.
But what would be beneficial then to the Ghanaian system? Because regardless of where you're from as an artist, your home base is crucial. I mean, because
Yeah.
that's basically
Well,
your stomping
I
ground.
think it is, but for many years, like you're saying, the system has failed people, right?
Yeah,
So if a system constantly fails people, why keep running to why keep running to a failing system when there's a big system outside in the rest of the world that is proven to make you more money than that system will ever provide you? So my take on it is until the government take control of it, make it make sense. I'm not really too. I don't even want to waste time talking about it, to be honest. Like
yeah,
until I know it's gonna be, there's some, there's not really much time talking about it because you'll go around in circles talking about the politics of it. But we support it and we just want to bring more money into the economy, bring more money into Africa as a whole through Crux Global and distributing artists' music and giving them that opportunity. But like anything in terms of within Ghana, like Gamro and stuff, I'll leave that to the government to fix. And if they're
yeah.
into having us have the conversation with them and helping them to fix it, we're more than welcome to do that. But I've tried to speak to many of the authorities before, and it doesn't go anywhere really. And I'm not comfortable, but I'm like quite confident that if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm actually gonna do more for the industry than they're currently doing.
Yeah. And what's the experience been like for the few that you've been working with? What are some of the benefits that they've seen with their not just their career, but with even their own personal developments as well.
Well, I guess like with a lot of our artists, like we get a lot of playlist support for them on Apple, Spotify, Deezer. So if you check on the Crux Global Instagram, there's a lot of people. We get playlists for a lot of people, and then on top of that, when the artist is at a particular stage, we're able to take them on tour. So we've promised, we're able to put together a European tour for him, where he came to UK, did a big show in London, um, Amsterdam as well, connected with the Afrobeats team there, Germany, etc., and we're able to kind of, push, take an artist from Lungwa on tour internationally, with local music. So yeah, there's that, and then there's also the aspect of counseling and consulting artists, selecting the right song, and looking. Whereas I'm in the UK, I have quite a broader look into the markets internationally, so I kind of can see what's trending in the different places from the UK, because I feel like it's a bit like a headquarters. And there's so
Of
many
course,
different cultures here. There's so many different cultures here. And if you engage with loads of different people from different cultures, you tend to get a feel of what's hot where and what people are liking where and whatnot. So I tend to use that knowledge and that know-how to help consult the artists overseas on how best to move and what markets to look into based on what they stand for and what type of music they do.
so with labels, there is conversation, on the background about some labels trying to make that inroad to Africa, per se, and
Hmm.
you know the sound. You've kind of seen how the sound has progressed to date.
Hmm.
Talk about the Afrobeat or African music per se. You know how that works. What's the advantage of dealing with something like Crux music, for example, where it's predominantly people who are from the culture, who understand the sound. You made a very solid point about picking the right ones. What's the advantage of coming with you instead of going with maybe the traditional labels that has always been around?
Um, I never want to say it's bad to go with labels because I think
No, not bad. I mean, the
like
advantage
yeah,
to
but I
get.
think the advantage of us is us having the know-how of all the markets across the diaspora. Like, as I said, from the UK, I kind of have a broad understanding of what the different countries are doing. I travel quite a lot as well. I have a more of a bird's eye view of what's working where. I think my experience and the experience of the team, the fact that the collaboration, we have news recordings and then we have Global Media Alliance in Ghana, two big powerhouses colliding to kind of bring their expertise and bring their teams and their networks to the table. I think that those are our key USP. Like our key USP is that just more of an understanding and having like more of the niche, like the core niche companies attached to what we do. But again, like I support other labels coming into Ghana as well, and other distribution companies coming into Ghana as well, and coming into Africa as a whole, because it brings more money into the system, and it provides more opportunities for more people, and it kind of raises up the culture as a whole. So I'm all for other people coming in. I think it's just everyone just playing fair really, and just supporting each other, and
that's why I use the word. I use the keyword advantage. 'cause
yeah
let me just be clear. I'm not anti labels now. That is never the case. I'm well for expansion. But in terms of there's always
Oh, just to touch on Timbo's question. Well gone, Tim. I'm saying, I guess subsequently the label works with the artist. So if the labels are sharing all of the information, it subsequently should fall onto the artist that they're working with. And yeah, I think that's what I mean with that. Sorry, go for it.
Of course, it's not just a few people eating though.
Yeah.
That's not the point. Yeah. So what's the first thing that as an artist trying to start their career pathway, what's the first lesson that you would recommend they learn?
An artist starting their career, I think like just like go for it really. Just like put things out. There's loads of platforms. Crux Global, for instance, you can upload your music, get your music pitched and released. Just go for it. Like make the music and start working. I think that's the thing I can say, because a lot of people hold back. And if you hold back, you're not able to make the mistakes or make the accidental impacts that can be made. And I think the other thing is study the game, do research, read a lot, look at what other people are doing, and yeah, just kind of like research and learn is probably the best things I'd say.
And for artist managers, because that's where a lot of the decision making comes into play, isn't it? Who's taking these decisions for the artists or helping them with their decision making?
Yeah, well,
another.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I'm saying that's another area that if you look at our continent, those you can always tell those who like good management are always ahead of the queue, and those without managers, what's your view on that? How
I think
selecting a manager, or who to go with in your team, because you mentioned team quite a lot, which means it's something that's quite dear to you.
yeah, team is very important because no one can do things alone. Like if I didn't have a team, like various teams that I work with, if they didn't exist, I won't be able to do even a quarter of the stuff that I do, because the team help I guess the team help you come up with ideas, and help things move forward. So there's no one person that runs everything. And I think in order to expand in the way you want to go, you need to be able to just kind of work with people. But in terms of looking for a manager, you go for the person that believes in what you do. The person has to believe in what you do and be willing to fight, be willing to learn. One thing that happens to a lot of managers is when something starts going good for an artist, they start getting complacent, start getting cocky, start like trying, like not understanding that it's you know, the artist, the manager wants to become the artist in a way, if that makes sense.
No, it
You end
does.
up
Yeah,
in
it does.
in a position, in that position, it's like, you know, there becomes blurred lines, and you know, it just doesn't go according to plan. So I think it's just being able to have a level head as a manager. Those are the managers that go, I loved him, thank you for that. But yeah, a lot of them don't move forward, and don't, you know, get to where they need to get to, because a lot of them want to be in front of the camera rather than, you know, doing their job. Um, so if you get someone who believes and has a long-term vision, so they don't stop at, like, when you hit 1 million views, they don't think you've made it. You know what I mean? They think, okay, we've hit 1 million views. How do we go to 10 million? Then when you get to 10 million, okay, cool. How do we break and go into 100? Or how do we go into this market, that market? I think it's having someone that's willing to constantly drive, and, you know, keep the artists on the race to, you know, trying to be great, rather than focusing on trying to, just get overnight success and get a few people tweeting and you're happy. You know, I think that's how you find the best managers, is being able to have someone who has a long-term vision and sees
That's
beyond, like, today.
that's the thing. Yeah, that Timbo. That's a very good point. It worked for Didi. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Like, it's not everybody who can be a Didi, because in the background he works,
Yeah,
you know, twice as much as he
yeah,
does on the
but
screen. You know,
I think the difference with Diddy is, um, Diddy used himself as a platform to launch the artist that he was with. So when Diddy was at Uptown Records, he himself became, you know, he became a brand in himself,
mm,
and he was able to then use that to launch the other artists. So in a way, it's being him, him
already in the
becoming a
forefront.
platform. Yeah,
Yeah,
him becoming a platform.
you
So
know.
yeah,
But rest in peace to Andre. You know, that's such a massive loss to the industry. You know,
yeah,
Uptown Records. But you look at the things that you've mentioned. You know, so you personally,
mm.
how have you stayed uh, evolving till date? You know, you never gave up. What's been the driving force for you?
Like my purpose, which was to, like, push the culture in the West, like to amplify our culture. That's It hasn't been done yet, so my job's not finished, so I just keep going. But I try and, like, as I say, it's looking beyond. It's easy to get complacent, like, especially when I was in uni. When I was in uni and we were doing parties and whatnot, what I saw with a lot of the DJs in uni is that after uni, after uni or during uni, they had so much fun, you know, going to do this gig and that gig, and, you know, going around the country and collecting, you know, not life changing amounts of money. I think it got to a stage where after uni, that was it. It's like, you know, I've made it. A lot of people felt like they made it, because of that energy of what happened whilst they was in uni. Now, for me, I you know, was able to maintain at uni, was able to do loads of shows, etc. But, you know, myself as a DJ, like, towards the end of the year, slightly started to slow down in putting myself out there as a brand, for various reasons at the time, various reasons, and I tried to put a lot of my energy into P Montana. So we were just doing the parties, collaborating with all the other guys that we were working with, and just focusing on that. But then I thought to myself, I'm not in the body of a DJ right now. How can I go from here? How can we take it from here internationally? Because no one, or not just internationally, but how can we go mainstream? Because no one else had done it. You know, no one else had actually done it. So how can we take a DJ who's, you know, making a standard uni fee to take him to 4 figures, 5 figures, etc. And that was my driving force, was how can I do that? And that helped me, you know, kind of take it to where we are now.
Do you read a lot though?
No,
Do
I
you
don't, you know. I don't.
so
You know what? I read a lot of articles, but I don't
mm,
read books. Like, I read articles and I
yeah.
watch a lot of documentaries. So I don't really like reading. I've always been a maths person. I've always been a numbers person. I've never been good at English.
Yeah, because I've always liked, you know, your energy, your approach to things, you know. So I was just keen to know how you keep developing, you know, because it's an industry, like you rightly said, you can easily get caught up in the celebration and forget about what the target is, you know, or you might just get too complacent, you said. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we one thing about the artist as a business, you know, 'cause we in a the situation where artists are not just putting out only just music, but spreading their wings, you know, going into so many other fields, you know. What's your approach when you're dealing with your artists?
Um, Everyone's different, really. Like, everybody is different. It's just kind of playing on the strengths of each artist and the culture, where they come from. That's very important to me. Like, it's the culture of the act, like where they come from and where they're going, and just building on that.
So what would you like to see, you know, strengthen the most, like for the African market now, you know, or
Um,
from an African artist perspective, you know.
what would I like to see grow?
Yeah.
Um, I think the amount of businesses investing in artists in general, in yeah, just African artists in general. I think we need different, you know, all the companies to come and just invest in them and invest in, you know, what everybody's doing. The same way, you know, in the UK, artists get signed every day. Artists get given opportunities every day, literally. Every weekday of in a week, sometimes weekends, someone is getting signed somewhere and someone's getting for work. So I would like to, yeah, I would like that to change and the opportunities to increase.
Increase our revenue. I was looking at some articles over the weekend, you know, about you hardly get any specific stats on Africa, you know,
Hmm.
as to streams, but we have quite a lot of artists now who are, if you check on say what you call it, like Spotify, and you see people have very decent stream numbers on there. But in terms of the revenue reporting, I've had a look on what do you call it? What's the website again? That the IFPI website, you know, where they are
Hmm.
gathering like global trends. You know, are
Hmm.
they missing a trick somewhere, or what do you think is accounting for this? That there's not a lot being mentioned about artists. You know, even though we see that there's been a significant increase in what we're doing.
Um, I think the it's significant, but it's not like super impactful. Like,
Mm.
people are getting streams, some people are in the hundreds of thousands, some people are, you know, just touching millions. But like, the reality is, it's still very small compared to, you know, the average artist in the West. Like, the reality is, like, an emerging artist in the West is streaming the same as, if not more, than the biggest artist in
Yeah.
Ghana. Yeah. So it's I think there's that as well.
What's your take on where we are now? I mean, in terms of our sound, do you think we're in a stable platform now? Like we found.
I think we're growing. Like, I think we're growing. I think what happened was there was a resurgence of the sound with the new wave of artists coming in about 2-3 years ago, and
Mm.
those artists made an impact in Ghana with quite a local sound, and they started getting international recognition. And I think all of them have tried to push the borders, but have all run into a barrier of sonics, like your music not cutting across. So all of them are actively changing that now, and you see that in a lot of releases, like a lot of the artist releases, like Kiddy's new song or new EP, and Promises Sissa record. Like there's a lot
Mm.
of that. It's more, as you said, it's got more of a global sound in comparison to what they were releasing
Before. Mm.
before. So it's I think, yeah, like
I
it's
think
developing. It's in a good place. I think we're at the start of the real work now. I think people have just the work's just started. People have just landed. Like it's just about starting now. People are just about getting it. And
I,
in the next year, 2 years, we'll see some like huge movements.
are there any emerging artists that we should be looking out for?
Plenty, man, plenty. Like so many. Um, you want me to name some?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
So
give us
shout out
some
to
names. Yeah.
some of the acts on Crux Global. So Tripsy, Talat Yaki, Skills, Eight Figures. Yeah, so if you go on the Crux page, like you'll find all the artists that we've been releasing and all the acts that will be, dropping. We usually have records coming every week.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, there's always tracks for people.
that's the thing. It's there's never been a better time. Being a DJ. To be honest, African sound. Because in the past
Yeah,
you play a few records and you've got to just go on to another genre or something. But now you can literally have an African party. Like
yeah,
the whole set can be an African party. You know what
exactly.
what promise should be called? I think it should be more young Kojo instead of Daddy Lumba, because the sound, the voice. That track with Kojo.
Yeah, the
You
bra.
yeah, you would think somebody and the junior brother. The style.
Yeah.
Like, you're more Kojo to me than Lumba. It's just,
I hear, I hear,
you're
I
more.
hear. You
But
know
it's
what?
it's
It's
ex-
they're
it's
all
exciting
they're all
times.
legends, man. Yeah, they're all legends. So it's sweet.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I mean Lumba with the style and the tracks and the hits, man.
Uh-huh.
We're very lucky to have had both of them in the same time. It's like a Messi and Ronaldo situation. We are lucky to
Yeah,
see
exactly.
both in their peak. But this is exciting times. It's
Uh,
really good times. For the industry, and we should be proud of what you're doing, like the works
uh-huh.
that putting that drive and dedication to to not just the music, but also to put the industry in a whole different light too, because that's
Uh,
that's what's been missing for a very long time. And to have
uh-huh.
young minds and young energy drive that force is fantastic. I
Uh-huh.
haven't been to
Uh,
the studio yet though. The one in
the
Ghana.
the one in Ghana, yeah. Oh, you
Yeah.
haven't?
No, because
Oh,
that's where the old studio used to be. So
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, I haven't been because I haven't been down since it all got finished. So hopefully once the
Yeah,
travel ban is lifted, we'll be out there to see what's good. But that's also a
yeah,
fun. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The studios and use like it's a blessing to have, man. So, you know, artists, if you need studio in Accra, if you need studio in London, come through, man. Shout out Moses. Much love, bro.
Because it's what we need. I mean, now you have
Uh-huh.
a lot of artists have their own studio setup.
Uh-huh.
Just keep grinding. That's the most important thing. And then with the day and light. But talk about like streaming. We have so much records coming out now.
Uh-huh.
How do you get your artists to stand out? Because the names that you've mentioned, they've been able to create some niche for themselves. how does Cracks do it?
Firstly, it's the quality of the music. So, the quality of the music plays a part. Um, the artwork, pitching their songs for playlists, making sure they have the right assets, the right marketing strategy. Also making sure that all of their profiles are properly populated. So, for instance, their Spotify, like they've got the right pictures there. Same thing with Apple. It's just the small things, really, that kind of add up to a good release.
Mm.
It's more than just putting a song out. I think you need to really pitch it and try and seek opportunities across the board of different platforms. And then when you understand where your audience is or where your audience likes to stream you most, or the two key platforms, then you focus, campaigns and see how you can drive further on those.
That's fantastic, man. Yo, Funkz, I think we got like about a minute left. Massive thank you. I know we've got to have a proper in-depth conversation. Get to know much about your background. How you got your breaking in the industry. What you've gone on to achieve and all of that. Once we're able to deal more with what you call it. Once the COVID is down and we can have contact with people, yes, we'll come with the podcast and then sit down and have that conversation. But massive thanks. Yeah, Logic. The
Yeah,
studio
all good.
is in Accra Mall. In
Yeah,
Ghana.
Cromwell in Ghana and in Woolwich in London. So near the
In
O2
London.
Arena in London.
Yeah. Yo, my brother, thanks so much, man. And we can only
all
wish
good,
you the
bro.
best. So Cracks Music
Much love.
is pinned in there. If you want to visit the website, have a look. Kofi Kyei. Thanks, brother.
No, all good, man. Much love.
The Soundboy Session, the ultimate podcast of music, views, reviews, and interviews with Teddy Abrokwa. Real vibes, real conversations.